Hi, I am Deborah R. Richardson of Deborah R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you pay the right vendor. Now, this week's Vendor Master File tip of the week is a new best practice to avoid fraud when making that confirmation call. And as you know, fraudsters are always evolving and they know that you're going to call when they send a request to change vendor banking or that remittance address to reroute their electronic payment or their check payment. So, how have they evolved? Well, they now send a request to change the contact information. And they do that before they send a request to update banking because updating banking, the second step, is where you're going to now invoke all of your processes, your fraud controls is at that step. They're not looking for you to invoke any type of a best practice or control when they submit a request to update their contact information. And by the way, I say change, but many of you don't even have contact information for your vendors. And so you probably welcome the fact that you're getting some. So step one is to send a request to change your contact information. And a week, 2 weeks, some point later, they're going to send a request to update banking. And then they know that when they send that request to update banking, that you're going to make that confirmation call to the information that they just changed it 2 weeks before or sometime before, and then you're going to send that fraudulent payment because, of course, the fraudsters are going to prove that bank change or remittance change. So, what do you need to do? What's the next best practice? Well, before you make that bank account ownership or bank account change or remittance address change, check for recent communication change. See if they changed your phone number. See if they changed their email address. And I actually got this idea for today's video or Vendor Master File tip of the week because there was an AI platform for email that would check if you received an email to say, hey, change my remittance information. They would check to see if you received a request from that same email address to make a change to their communication information again because they know that you're going to make that confirmation call. So you need to do the same thing. If you don't have AI or some type of platform that can alert you to the fact that yes, you now have this change for remittance information, but guess what? Hey, you also had a change from the same vendor for communication information, be it their phone or email. Then if you don't have a system that will tell you that, then you need to check manually. Now, one thing I would say to make sure that you're not making it easy for these fraudsters to make those changes is require a process in order for that to happen. And we all know that the more obstacles you put in the way of fraudsters, the more likely they are to just abandon that fraud attempt and go on to the next potential victim that's not asking for these things, right? Put some obstacles in their way. And one thing I like using a substitute W-9 for form for or a vendor setup form is now you can add page 2. And page 2 is where you can ask those questions, ask them to document, ask them the existing information, what they want to change it to from, and then what they want to change it to. And that way you've got some authentication where when you receive this completed form back, you can see if it has the existing information that you have on file, which is great. And even if you don't have that information on file, or if they have it, the frosters have it because they have been part of, right? Maybe they're in the vendor's information or they got lucky and guessed it. It's still another obstacle. And this is not the only thing you do, but this is one thing that you can do to make it harder for vendors to, or for fraudsters to change your vendor's information. Now, if you would like this reference or this vendor setup form template, along with other vendor setup forms and reference templates, I will put a link to the authentication validation management framework. There is a vendor toolkit that includes that vendor setup form as well as other reference forms, references and form templates that you can use to make sure that you avoid fraud, fines, and bad vendor data in the vendor setup and maintenance process. So make sure you check the description for that. And then if you just want more information on how to improve your vendor processes, you can always go to my site at deborarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to, again, avoid fraud, fines, and bad vendor data. But if you'd like over 149 or 63 hours, I'm always adding new training of vendor process training sessions, then make sure you check out the Vendor Process Training Center at training.deborarrichardson.com. So good luck and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File tip of the week.